Pressure up again between Reynolds and Winterbottom. So Mark Winterbottom had a little tweak at the anti-roll bars before, which we witnessed on board his car. He's rested and he's come back with an attack once again. He's going to keep on applying the pressure. 7 laps difference in the original stint on their soft tyres, which have been recycled. So far, not a foot wrong by either of these guys. Very intense driving.
Yeah, can't see anything here, mate, so push on. I think we're okay.
Brad Wuscherson, engineer. So wonder what David's disturbed about. There's something that's got him asking question marks.
19 to go, mate. Just concentrate on what you can. Get in pretty back. We're all good.
He went that lap from having an almost a second advantage down to 0.6. So it's on here. Game on down at turn 2 because Mark Winterbottom sized him up as they went down there. David Reynolds was able to hold the position just, but now Frosty gets it done.
So he rested those tyres for a while. He had a little tweak on the anti-roll bars. And then he's had another attack. And just a few seconds ago, you saw Brad Wuscherson just wandering in the garage in response on the radio to David, just calming him down, getting him to stop and think about it. There was something that was disturbing him. So stalked him, backed away from it, and then stalked him again and finally got the job done down at the western end of the circuit. Now here we are with David Reynolds, position number 2.
What was the concern? What was the worry that we saw from the Bottle-O team? They were on the radio talking to David, tries to stop it at the final turn. Is there an issue with that car?
Pull it down a bit. Still 18 to go, 18 to go. 3.5 seconds to Chaz. He's never lived here with him, mate. Look after those tyres.
Voice of Brad Wuscherson now, engineer for car number 55. The thing is, they're going to have to be super careful here. All 3 of the Pro Drive cars, Nathaniel Osborne on the left, Brad Wuscherson on the right.
That's all good, mate.
Super careful of eating up these soft tyres. Here's the replay of what happened. It was Davey struggling to stop down at turn 2 that opened the opportunity for Mark Winterbottom to sneak up the inside, and that was just a couple of thou between them. We jump on board now with Frosty. Telltale smoke from the unloaded side of Reynolds' car. This is the run through the kink left-hander at 2. It's flat, and then here we are. He's got the ideal line for turn 3. Winterbottom was able to easily cruise on by. Now, keep an eye on Tander and Courtney. Their pace is good, and depending on how their tyres are wearing and faring, they could be a factor here.
Oliver Winterbottom, he was in a race suit earlier in the weekend, and Renee said it was the cutest race driver she'd ever seen. They've been doing some cool stuff on the grid with the 95, with the cars. But in the meantime, Dad doing the business again.
There he is.
Pretty happy too.
Hey, mate.
Go, Daddy, indeed.
Daddy's going for a water ski at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and taking an opportunity to have a run in the warmth up here.
Less than a second. It's down to 0.9 now between Courtney and David Reynolds. Heading through this final sequence of corners that will bring them on to the start-finish straight. Can he line him up and have a shot down at turn 2?
Reynolds is gliding and sliding that car as best he can. It's an intense battle. 16.5 for Winterbottom, 16.8 for Reynolds, 15.7 for James Courtney, and he's now half a second away. He's in the zone. So watch him down at turn 11. He might even get it done a little bit earlier. Davey slides wide on 3. Courtney on the hunt. Now through all the high-speed stuff, through the S's, over the top of the curbs.
It's down to 0.2, 0.29.
A big oversteer moment on the apron, on the exit there for Reynolds. So the mathematical gap's not the thing now. It's actually about making the track space, and this is where I reckon Courtney might be able to do it on the run down towards turn 11.
As a look, can he pull it up and get it through nice and cleanly? David on the outside. Courtney's there. Courtney up to second. The cheers at the Holden Racing team. Holden Motorsport boss Simon McNamara looking on. Some nervous faces there. And what about the contrast at Bottle Racing? He's off. But there's not enough time to find that 4.9 seconds, it would seem.
17.1 Mark Winterbottom, 16.7 for Courtney, 17.9 for David Reynolds. Great replay action here on the inside at turn 11 as predicted. Courtney was able to get a better traction run out of turn 8. Here it is from on board. Got to 100% throttle earlier and smoother without the sliding. Forced the nose. David made it a little easier by not wanting to have contact down there. Gave him some space. Reaction in the Holden Racing Team garage. Courtney's come here with a pole and a win and a total of 4 podiums. He might add to that today. It's not impossible that he couldn't get to at least halfway through that margin of 4+ odd seconds between Winterbottom and himself at the moment, but it looks like Frosty might be able to close this deal. Here he is. And maybe that's just going to be enough for James too. You don't want to end up ripping through whatever is left on those tyres, and they must be almost threadbare at this point. 2.86 kilometres for Mark Winterbottom to potentially make it 2 for 2.
And help him in the championship race. People wondered about the Pro Drive Fords. Would they be good here as well? As we've seen at all sorts of other venues, that has been answered. A demon start yesterday by Mark Winterbottom and some clever moves today, and he looks set to go back-to-back in Townsville.
And potentially victory number 6 now for 2015, expanding that points margin. Career victory number 33. We're seeing mighty strength from the Pepsi Max boys, from Mark Winterbottom and everybody at Pro Drive. Their cars ride well, they drive well. They're well balanced, they're being well driven. They've certainly had to fight for it today though.
And they're the envy of their rivals in pit lane. It's been an awesome drive by James Courtney in the background. This appreciative crowd around Townsville. Many of them get to their feet to celebrate a brilliant performance by the Pepsi Max crew and by the championship leader. Is 2015, after years of coming third and runner-up in the title race, is this going to be his year? Winterbottom wins for the 2nd day in a row in Townsville.
Awesome, Marty. Awesome. Thank you.
Greg Murphy with Barry Ryan, Alistair McVeigh in there. He was genuinely excited by that lap, and I had a quick word to him on the grid down there before, and he said it's nice to get one up, meaning grab that pole. And so James Courtney's come in, and Michael Caruso is also in the pit lane at the moment. Remember, he's subbed for the injured Richie Stanaway. Laka?
Yeah, I'm just watching James Courtney, the first of our stoppers, but I'm watching with greater interest. You heard Jamie Winkup say on the grid about the undercut. So he's tucked in there right behind Shane Van Gisbergen. Probably never a better time than right now for an undercut, because Shane's been arguably held up a little or not in clean air with Davison ahead of him. So this is where it works. He comes in a lap earlier, gets on with it.
Thanks, Larko. We're watching this battle for second at the moment because McLaughlin's now in a position to pounce. He's under and over him and around him, so he's got nice drive off the final corner. He ranges up on the outside. It'll be a battle to try and clear him when they get down to turn 2. He's got the long way round here, McLaughlin.
Crisscross.
And he'll try and do, you can hear Mark in the background, the crisscross. He'll pull it up high and then try and dive out the other side. The problem with this little short shoot between 2 and 3, there's not much racetrack and it's got a kink in it. Chaz has a wake up to it and he forces him down to the wall, but he has to yield. And in fact, he now tries the crisscross. Great bit of battling here. Wincup is in, Slade's in. Look at Mostert. Forces the argument. Whoa, he's going to be sliding on the slippery stuff out there. They managed to keep it glued together, those two. What a battle.
How good was that? That was extraordinary stuff by Mostert to get around the outside of turn 5. And now Van Gisbergen pounces on the inside of Davison at turn 10. He gets it done. Beautiful manoeuvre.
So the chopper doesn't tell you, I mean, it tells you the exact passing story. What you don't see is the amount of debris on the outside of the racetrack in that location. There is no grip out there. There's rubber, there's dirt, there's corruption all over the place. And they managed to both get through there without turning him into nuts and bolts.
100%. And when Scott fired down the inside at 3, he thought he was home and hosed. He thought he was down the inside and all bets are off. But Chaz did the same thing. He turned back the other side. He blazed down on the bad side of the road, on the outside for turn 5, and turned it in. Forced the issue.
Coulthard's come in. Now, Whincup, who pitted in while we were getting blood pressure, Whincup came in and he'll get the benefit of the undercut. So the fanfare is on all this stuff, deservedly so. But the quiet achiever could end up being Jamie Whincup. No fanfare, but he might get a free kick.
Well, the other one is the fanfare. Take a look at David Reynolds' gap. Almost 6 seconds now. So whilst these guys are playing, he's bolted.
This is cool, though. So, yeah. Thumbs up. 10 out of 10 for racing entertainment. And they managed to do a couple of real professionals. And we've seen great battles involving those drivers here in the past. And look at this, the super slow-mo from the outside. So imagine sitting in the cockpit of car number 55. Look at the road surface there. So McLaughlin's got the sprint car slide going. Chaz has got no grip at all. They're both instinctively driving, interlocking wheels. Seat of the pants motor racing. There are no books that can teach you how to deal with this stuff. And then they scoot out the other side. Now it's Scotty McLaughlin's turn to eat dirt. So he's in the wild stuff on the outside where there is no grip. There's nothing you can tune that fixes that. And it's the shot from the chopper. Right about now, we had blood pressure.
Well, they had 2/3 of the lap alongside each other. They were alongside each other from the time they come out of turn 13. So this was the setup. When Scott was down the inside, he thought, oh, done. I've got this done. I'm sorted. No problem. He runs a little bit wide, and the way that he got back the other side of him was extraordinary. I didn't think that Mostert was able to do that. So these are live pictures now. This is almost a replay of what we saw before, but he got it done coming out of 3.
So McLaughlin prevails, but they emphasise that Whincup is stealthily just moving around in the background here at the moment, having taken a set of tyres, and he'll play into this game nicely. He's a big chance to be in front of this group. Depends on how much fuel they put in. He says searching for it. 43 litres, we think, on estimate. And now we've got Van Gisbergen having a big crack at Mostert. And Will comes in. So Will Davison's come in. So one would assume that the balance of Mostert's car is going away in the stint. We're on the 19th lap. Whincup, as I predicted, has just done the fastest first sector on the racetrack out there at the moment. So he's down in 18th position, but blazing. So there was a bit of reluctance to accept the concept. Right now, it's grown up rain.
Well, and remember, Dave Reynolds sat out the wet weather session in P1, not thinking that it was going to be wet through the weekend at all. This will come back and haunt him.
So here we go. This changes everything. Adding a little bit of water to the story. And this is going to be such a delicacy to walk these cars off the line. Waters and McLaughlin. Lights change. You can't apply all the big horsepower to the road on a wet track at Townsville. So they have to gently ease them away. Waters has done a beautiful job of that. Let's go wild in Townsville as they get down to the second turn.
Oh!
And Reynolds has tripped over the top of McLaughlin. Is there damage?
Yep.
Can he get the thing to turn? No. He's broken the front left corner of it. And that's catastrophic for McLaughlin. Righto, so it's 15 seconds now. Di Pasquale to Van Gisbergen, and Anton, our leader, also needs fuel. He needs 24 litres of Shell Racing fuel in that car.
Larko, you've got 22 minutes before time certain. I'm not convinced that your secondary double dip on his bet is going to work out as he would like. I think the casino trip's been put on hold.
I don't reckon he's going to need 50 plus for the afternoon. Just a tip. Look at this. Mostert just got down the inside nicely of Van Gisbergen. So all of a sudden he's got a burst of pace, hasn't he? That's nice. Oh, he glides it into the last corner and he's going to lose a spot. Oh, there's contact between them. Lucky to get out of that the other side without more damage. And then the battle resumes. So that's Grant McPherson just reminding Shane Van Gisbergen that Chaz has got to stop again. So there's not a lot of point getting too vigorous.
So the reason we're showing you this and we're not showing you Anton Di Pasquale, who's got a 15-second lead, currently has to come in for another roughly 25 litres of fuel. Here comes Percat down the inside of Cam Waters.
They've exchanged positions, but it's not resolved, and they are neck and neck on the run to turn 3. The squeeze is on. The wet, slippery side of the road for Percat. Nowhere to turn in for Waters, who started from the Armour All pole, and that actually gets nicked back up into 5th again. So there's a couple of very, very good battles going on out there at the moment.
Yeah, Percat's still got to stop.
5 litres of fuel, can you believe that? So that's a couple of seconds of fuel for him. But I was making the point before, it's not the fuel, it's the time to transit the lane. And even then, it's not just that, it's the departure from the regular lap speed. When you peel off the racetrack before you get back to your peak speed, it's on. It continues as Cam Waters gets back down the inside of Nick and slides one by.
What a great battle.
Meantime, we've got this ongoing battle between Mostert and Van Gisbergen. Another little glance off each other's doors in the final corner. What a great car race. And Van Gisbergen prevails back into 2nd position. 15 seconds the margin between De Pasquale and Van Gisbergen. Fuel still required for car number 55 for Super Cheap Auto. Yellow flag being flown on the run into turn 2. Someone's come unglued down there. And must have, oh no, it's Andre Heimgartner just reversing up Foundry Street there and gets back on with it.
Whoa, I thought Macca was going to get him then. Just when we went back out at the shot, Macca was around the corner, and I don't know whether he got clear or not.
And while your focus was back down the road, these guys continued that battle, and Van Gisbergen sat up very high in turn 3, and I wondered whether he might run out of road there. And I venture to say he might have thought the same thing for a moment. There is Macaulay Jones, Nick Percat, Cam Waters. So let's have a look at this replay. So watch Shane, and he's very wide on the run to 3. It was a brief invitation for Chaz Mostert, but there's nowhere to go. This is the view from Chaz's car. Gee, it's hard to see around that corner on your best day, let alone when it's wet like this. He hops up over the curve.
Skill is immense. The subtleties of trying to drive race cars in the rain, all the skill level of hand control and foot control, beautiful work by both of them.
And on that onboard shot, you can see the wiper motor and actuator arm just working vigorously in that car, and you can see it on Shane's car down there as well. They run the wiper motors really low in the chassis for centre of gravity reasons, just to keep the weight low, and the battle continues here. So back to the aerial view of Mostert and Van Gisbergen. We've got 18 laps remaining.
I keep on looking at this thinking it's a replay.
I do too. I check to make sure the graphic's not there just in case I step on it. So Percat, is he far enough up? And Cam Waters be wondering the same thing, because he's got very limited visibility. Even in dry conditions, it's difficult to see.
Rick Kelly is going to get to the back of these guys. So Rick's right up in behind.
So the other thing that I'm just watching carefully is whether or not we hit time certainty before we get to our race distance as well. We're showing 18 laps remaining, but it'll be right on the edge. 14.2 seconds the gap between De Pasquale and Mostert. Anton needs fuel. We're riding with Nick Percat. This is a fantastic battle. Nick's currently sitting in 6th position. He's hounding the back of car number 6, the pole sitter Cam Waters' Monster Energy Ford Mustang. And there's still a massive amount of water on that road.
There is, isn't there? It's actually surprised me that it hasn't dissipated more. So just to clarify that for you, there's basically only 17 minutes remaining before time certainty, and there's 17 laps to go, and then clearly more than 1 minute per lap right now. So that is definitely going to
hit time certain.
Yep.
Well, she'd be out of breath in 5th gear down there then.
I would have given it 6 just to make sure it never burst into wheel spin.
Yeah, the problem is it arrives down here faster. That's not a good idea. Thanks very much for offering.
You taking whatever slow accident?
Yeah, I reckon self-press. Oh, they've touched. He's given him a nudge into turn 3. They're both up the escape road. Percat and Waters have made contact at turn 3. Waters gets away. Has he given positions away? He has.
Rick Kelly's gone
and
by.
This is going to eat. This is going to eat positions also for Nick Percat. Unbelievable. So Jacobson's moved up. Rick Kelly's moved up.
Yeah, so Waters still on our corrected numbers based on him having his fuel load is right there. He and Di Pasquale are very, very close. So Van Gisbergen on our numbers, there's the replay of turn 3. It was a clumsy moment, and there's also almost a Dan Ricciardo reversing moment for Cam Waters. Here we go, bang, and that was Nick. He had the wheels locked, straight into the back of him.
He might cop the attention of race control on that one, and then he's having a battle here trying to grab reverse. There's a little lever on the gear lever, and he gets it in the end.
He stopped on lap 24. He's got the best tyres in the field on that car, 4 fresh tyres. Whincup will probably just make way in the easiest spot, and they will go for it. It'll be Van Gisbergen versus McLaughlin,
who will be hungry for the win, but also to protect his championship lead.
just hit the fastest lap of the race, Van Gisbergen, a 13.9.
We've got 5 laps remaining. And this margin is going to close down between all 3 of them. And Jamie is going to make this as tough as he needs to as well. So the margin across the first 3 at the moment is 0.9 of a second. We have not got the podium resolved by any stretch of the imagination. And they are maximum attack through the right-hander at turn 10. That was a cool ride with Shane. He had the thing on the slide. He fed it 100% throttle. He's feeding gears into it. He's right on the back of his own teammate now. So bombs it up towards the left-hander at turn 13. And is he going to clear Jamie? Will Jamie make it easy for him? They are absolutely line astern. Shell V-Power Racing leads with Scott McLaughlin. Red Bull Holden Racing Team 2nd and 3rd. We've now got 4 laps to go.
Does he dive? He lets him go. Whincup's let him go. Exactly. So here we go now, folks. The 2 young Kiwis are going to be at it.
McLaughlin will have seen it in the mirror and gone,
Oh my God.
here we go again.
Yeah.
We've seen this movie before, but it's worth another ticket to sit back and watch it one more time, because McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen have got a rich history of great competition. We've only got 0.4 of a second between McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen. This is supercar racing at its best as we close out in Townsville. There's nothing between these guys. Scotty's got next to no grip. Van Gisbergen's got tons of it. He's got a run on him here. He'll have a big dip when they get down to the braking area at turn 11. And what does McLaughlin do? Will he cover him? Does he get down the inside? Van Gisbergen dives it down there and gets there. And
There's
have
Jamie.
a go at Whincup. 2 for 1. A 2 for 1 deal as Van Gisbergen and Whincup get to the lead.
That's critical for points for Whincup's battle with McLaughlin in the championship. So Van Gisbergen forces his way by. Jamie in the fortunate position is the beneficiary. He lobs down the inside, gets the move made also. Tremendous drive, Van Gisbergen, a great strategy by the Holden Racing team. They've done a great job at Red Bull.
Here's the replay. He's done it several times this weekend. He jinxed from the extreme left and then he held him up high, and that fed Scott wide enough that Jamie was able to make a super easy pass. This is the view from McLaughlin's car. Dives him down the inside, then sits him up. Scott has to pause on the throttle, and there goes Jamie.
Now this is for position here, but again, Percat is out of sequence with the leaders, so he doesn't have to move over and let him go, but no point fighting them given the different strategies, and this is pretty close. So what was 1.5 seconds on the track about a lap ago, well, it's less than that now.
Remember, Percat was, just joined our coverage, Percat was spinning with some assistance at turn 3 on the opening lap, so Percat went back to last.
So, rewind a week ago. They were the other way around. It was the 97 hunting the 88 late in the race. 19 laps to go today. Slight advantage potentially to Jamie Whincup with that extra fresh tyre. Track position though, the way of the 97. Looking forward to seeing how this one washes out as Whincup goes in search of a 13th victory here in Townsville.
And this is the point where the left-hand tyres do all the work. So off 8, through 9, through the fast right-hander at turn 10, then braking hard into the slow right-hander at 11, and then the load on the car all the way around. Now, Whincup is in the spot. Whincup is right there, and he got blocked. His teammate blocked him. So if you think there's not vigour and genuine challenge between these two guys, there certainly is. Van Gisbergen did not allow him down the inside when Whincup had a beautiful run. He's still coming. It still might happen, but it's going to take some work. That was not a gift, was it?
He's made his intentions clear.
Yep.
Just like they did last week, they are going to race each other. They're going to make each other work for it today.
I'd like to see the face of Roland Dane when this is all unfolding.
Last night and yesterday, they were at war with race control. Now they're at war with one another again, just like it was here last weekend. And they have gapped the field, and they're going to run each other all the way to the checkered flag. Still a long way to sort this one out.
And Garth Tander said earlier today, beware of the angry bulls. And this is what it's like, because these guys have rebounded from yesterday. They dominated last weekend, but they weren't able to put their front foot forward yesterday. Cam Waters knocked them off. They got knocked off by Anton De Pasquale in qualifying, and they were unhappy with the result from yesterday. Now, will Whincup do it this time? Will he feint? No, what he's going to do this time, he's going to try to do the crisscross, but you're on the outside. Van Gisbergen cleverly, he parks it up, Chad. So right at the critical moment, when they're trying to get on the throttle, he actually stayed off the throttle purposely, squared the corner off, and made Jamie bump the back of his car. Now, does Whincup get down the inside? This is a high-risk braking area. There's lots of runoff, but it's very bumpy. Easy to lock a wheel and put yourself out. The inside front wheel locking for the right-hand front down there is very strenuous. This is great stuff. These are arguably two of the best drivers. We've got 8 or 10 of them in the field that are absolutely world-class, especially these styles of cars. And they are battling for position 1.
And I wonder, Mark, the longer that Jamie sits there, that close to the back of his teammate, that advantage that he has with that left front tyre, will it wear away quickly?
It goes away for sure.
And Shane, you know the way he thinks about things in the race car. The longer he can hold his teammate at bay, the more chance he has of negating that fresh tyre in the left front corner of Jamie Whincup.
This is the spot, but he's got to feint right and then flick left. He's got to feint to the right and then flick to the left, because he can't telegraph it. So what he's got to do, so if you put yourself in Whincup's spot right now, he's got to manufacture, he's got to construct the pass. And to manufacture the pass, he didn't do it that time. He's got to be there the next time. And because he didn't fire down there, Shane now might be expecting him not to lunge. But that's the critical element. It's the time when you can get him with a spontaneous move. It's the only way that Whincup's going to get by is to trick him into getting down the inside, is to think that he's not going to do it. If he can get that done there, that's the best spot, turn 13. They've got a gap of 6 seconds over the rest, whilst they're battling between the teammates. So this is it. So the construct starts now. Coming out of 9, through 10, get the car stopped really well. Make sure that you get as much turning done at the first part of turn 11 right now. He's done it. He's done it. Perfect. He's got to be able to come off here, minimise the wheel spin. Get it parked, flick to the right, and then go back to the left. He was too far up. They bumped again. They bumped again. Now he's going to get alongside. But he'll be on the wrong side of the road. Van Gisbergen's got the inside run for turn 2. This is great stuff. Absolutely world-class motorsport.
They're from the same garage, but they're determined to fight it out on the racetrack. Van Gisbergen's got the sit down at turn 2. Can Whincup swing it back?
Turn back, turn back. No, he was in there too deep, and Shane did that purposely. He left it there before he turned it at the corner. So he actually resisted the crisscross. We saw the Anton De Pasquale move that Cam Waters did yesterday on him. He was not able to slow it up in the middle of that manoeuvre. What Shane did is he parked him wide and said, no way you're going to turn back the inside on me. The racecraft and the racing IQ of Shane Van Gisbergen is extraordinary. And have a look at the smile. There's David Couchy, who has been traditionally Wincup's engineer, is watching two blokes just having a real crack at it. Jamie's just backed it off just a little bit now, but that was just a fantastic exchange.
The gap now down to half a second, and he's coming back at that Monster Energy Mustang. Van Gisbergen got through with a nice move at turn 13 early in the race. So Cam Waters knows that trick. Not going to let him do that twice, you'd think.
And remembering that Cam Waters has got 6-lap fresher tyres on that car. So if Van Gisbergen gets away with this move this afternoon, and he is absolutely flying. Fastest car again on the last lap. That's the spot. He always...
He blocked it.
Yep.
He said you could see him just move his car to the middle of the lane, saying, nah, I know what you're up to. So Shane Van Gisbergen is going to have to dive into his trick bag and see what he's got. He's going to have to play a new one.
And there's about 4. He moves it over again there, Waters. It blocks him, but he can do the crisscross. He can move back the other way. Has he got good enough drive? Not quite on that occasion, but that's certainly one to put in your memory bank. That's a goer. That might work. So now, where are the other ones? The other spot clearly is 11. He's been good down at 11. He's been great at 13. He's very good at 2. There's a cast of spots that might be able to make this spot.
He put a good move on Will Davison out of turn 8 into turn 9 before they cross Boundary Street. And we're coming to that part of the racetrack right now. Is he close enough? Not for the move up into side turn 10. Oh, Waters just runs it through the dirt. He had a 9, but he's wide. So does this... Oh, Waters has covered it because Van Gisbergen had a run through 10. Playing Morse code on the rear bumper.
What's he do? What's he do here?
Well, he's got to go up the outside because Waters should block it. So does he stay the outside? Waters does a nice job. He hung him up high.
Yep.
He watched the replay of the race this morning when Van Gisbergen did that to Winterbottom, or to Wincup.
Yeah, exactly. He got some of his own medicine there. That's exactly what was done earlier.
So,
and again, he's down the inside, so he's blocking very early. There's 7 laps remaining. This is the crisscross move. This is probably the highest yield. Can he get it accelerated? No, not quite again.
too much wheel spin. You can see Van Gisbergen sideways off turn 2. He was trying to do what you were explaining, Mark, but the rear tyre didn't play the game. Oh, he's got a great run off 3. It's tricky to get up the inside into 5. Does he do it? No.
Oh.
This is a good battle. And this is not just a battle for this race. There's a lot of messaging going on here. This might be a small battle, but this is about how long the war's going to go for. These two will battle it out for years to come. And it's these races for Cam Waters that'll tell Shane Van Gisbergen, you may have got the upper hand a couple of times on me, but you're not going to get an easy one.
Cast your mind back to Bathurst last year. It was an epic battle between these two guys. Cast your mind back to Tailem Bend when Cam Waters was able to prevail. He was able to hold him out, and Van Gisbergen turns back the other way. He gets down the inside. Can he hold the car in that position? They just rub. Front wheel to rear wheel. He's got the run, but he's on the outside. It's the wrong spot for turn 2.
So does Van Gisbergen go around the outside? Look at the marbles and stuff that he has to get close to. Right, now what do? Do you hang it around the outside? Van Gisbergen's going to stop it, or is he going to go right around the outside? Can't get that one done. So Cam Waters positioning his car beautifully. Van Gisbergen's got speed. Waters has got track position.
And Will Davison has got the best seat in the house. He's watching 2 young combatants absolutely torturing each other. The Monster Mustang versus the Red Bull Commodore, and there's so much to play for. Cam Waters doesn't want to give the spot away with 6 laps remaining. He's got fresher tyres, but Van Gisbergen's been able to make the ground. Their fastest laps are only 1/10 of a second apart.
This battle, though, it's costing him lap time. Waters was the 13th fastest that previous lap. Van Gisbergen, the 9th fastest. The fastest car on the lap, Will Davison, the car behind.
And he's just dropped off him a little bit. This might be clever. Just give the front tyre a little breath. When you're in behind like that, it hits the tyre up, it hits the engine up, it hits the brakes up, it hits the driver up, it hits everything up. So just a little breath. He'll pop it out of the wind. He'll get out of the slipstream this time. Just recompose himself, and he'll go back with another plan, because we know how aggressive he is. We know the strategy and his racecraft. He's got a really high racing IQ, Van Gisbergen. But don't discount Cam Waters. He's a tough competitor. He doesn't let Van Gisbergen intimidate him. He's the team leader at Tickford. He's been superb through 2021. He's had a couple of bad luck runs, but he will fight to the bitter end here in Townsville.
You can't say enough about the job that this Tickford team have done an amazing job turning this car around this weekend. The car that's trying to steal the race win, we're on board with now, Shane Van Gisbergen. They won by 30 seconds last weekend. Cam Waters was lapped. Now they've turned it around. They won yesterday. They put it on pole position for this one. Cam Waters has got the lead. That's a big turnaround from this team.
Massive, absolutely massive. They sent all the engineers back to Melbourne between Townsville 1 and Townsville 2. They've had the Mostert debrief. They've done everything you can possibly do to chuck stuff at this car this weekend, and it worked yesterday. It's working right now. We're on board with Will Davison, who's only 0.9 of a second in behind. 4 laps remaining. The pressure. Put yourself in Cam Waters' monster Mustang right now, and think about the fast Kiwi who's parked in behind you, who's trying to find a way by. And right now, it's all about thinking where your advantage is, where his car is better to be able to block and resist the manoeuvre.
Last time by, fastest car on the track, Shane Van Gisbergen. Second fastest car, Cam Waters. Third fastest car, Will Davison. The first 3 cars you see on the track here, fastest cars battling it out for the race win.
And that's because he didn't have to block on the previous lap. The 2 laps prior, he blocked everywhere. He's on the verge of having to block again now, because Van Gisbergen, we know how aggressive he is. He's a little bit too far back. If he gets that pass made from there, he's a Houdini.
That one wasn't going to happen. Waters got nice drive traction off turn 11, gave him a good run through 12, and again there, good drive traction off turn 13. So that's buying him a little bit of space for the run down to the next braking zone at turn 2. Waters doesn't need to defend because he got off the last corner so well. Van Gisbergen flows the car through the mid part of the corner right there very well. But Waters again, good drive traction off turn 2. He's protected for turn 3. He's driving it in all the right spots right now, Cam Waters.
Certainly is. And Garth, we saw from the back of Cam Waters' car that Van Gisbergen had a lot of understeer at the last corner. That's actually what caused that little gap and the extra drive. Big advantage for Waters coming onto the main straight on the previous lap. So has he resisted it now? Has the front tyre for Van Gisbergen now got the temp, has got the degradation? It's hurt the front tyre. He's tried to get by. Maybe he's been able to resist the aggression of Van Gisbergen.
That was key. Those laps when Van Gisbergen had Waters under the microscope, he had to keep track position, because if Van Gisbergen stuck behind him, exactly what you said, Mark, the front tyre temperature goes through the roof. You lose front tyre performance, the car understeers, it won't turn. That then means you run the car wide on the exit, you don't get good drive traction. So all the tricks that Van Gisbergen's done to everyone else this year, they're now starting to turn the tables and use it on him.
Check those guys out. David Couchy for Shane Van Gisbergen. Nathaniel Osborne for Cam Waters. Remember, he's not normally the engineer for this car. Sam Potter's back in Melbourne. He's having a foot operation done. He's recovering. All the best wishes to Sam, because he's played a big role in the performance of this car. Nathaniel's come off the bench. He was able to get a win yesterday for Cam Waters. And the longer this runs now, the better it looks for Cam Waters. That little gap, it's 0.6. Great driving so far. And the level of pressure on this young man is extraordinary.
You mentioned it earlier, the battle at Bathurst last year in the 1000 between these two. I was part of the 97 car and I was a race fan. I just enjoyed it. It was so intense to watch them go at it. They went at it again when we went racing at Bathurst at the start of this year's championship in the 250k races there. These two guys, when they race hard.
They certainly do. Last lap, can Cam Waters hold him out? For Ford fans, you have Will Davison in behind Shane Van Gisbergen. Can Cam Waters, for 2.86, hold the very aggressive and very, very good Kiwi at bay?
Needs to be accurate.
Get it to the apex at 2, does it beautifully. Don't spin the tyre up. Good drive traction off 2. First job ticked. Get it to the apex at 3. Nicely done. Minimise the wheel spin over the bumps. Job 2, done. Van Gisbergen hasn't got anything for him. As long as Waters doesn't make a mistake here, he will bring this Monster Energy Mustang back to victory lane. Into 7. This is a critical one. Nicely over the curb at 7. Nicely over the curb at 8. Don't get too sideways over the bumps through turn 10 as we go across Boundary Street. Gets that done. Van Gisbergen, what's the gap? It's 0.8 of a second. He's not there.
What a great job. What a great job. You said it before, they got lapped last time they were here. They got beaten by 37 seconds. And this drive and this team have fought back. He said yesterday when he crossed the line, what a bounce back, boys, and they've done it again. Cam Waters, congratulations, superb drive.
Great strategy from the team. They played that safety car period to perfection. We thought they'd got it wrong. How wrong were we? They got it perfectly right.
See what it looks like for the Monster Energy car that had decent margin and decent pace. And here we go, look at this, tight, very tight. So this little arm wrestle resumes, exactly what we want.
Exactly. Could not have timed that better, could you?
26 litres of fuel have gone on for Waters to maintain a track position, so the engineering group in there would have been factoring that because Chaz would have got a gain from the fresh tyres, therefore the undercut that we talk about. Mark Larkin's done many stories on it, raised it also in the Hino hub, so they will have been aware of the fact that he was on the march, and there he is. But remember, there's a 5-lap difference in the age of the tyres here, but what a great battle that's unfolding between them as Davison and LeBrock also come into the lane. And what Mostert wants to do here, with all of his powers, is get down there with every single thing he's got, and that's exactly what he tries to slingshot and do now, and has been able to achieve it. They make awkward contact, and as that pushed the guard onto that left rear tyre, that was very, very awkward.
And Chaz did that on purpose. Once he was in, and he got the car down the inside, he purposely slowed it to make it very hard for Cam to turn back along the inside. So he purposely did that to ensure that he was going to be able to maintain that position. But this is not over, so Cam Waters now plunges down the outside. Can he get it stopped?
Barely. That was maximised. There was nothing left under brakes. Now, remember, when these tyres come fully up to temp and pressure, he's the one with the crispness, with the grip, and he's going to have the pace, but he's lost a little bit of track position in the play. And a tiny little bit of difference in terms of fuel here as well. There's 6 litres difference, so there's a few seconds difference in the fuel between them. So a difference in their tyre strategy, a difference in their fuel loads.
And Mostert, remember, with that little hiccup on the left-hand front, probably put a little bit more fuel in than he would have liked.
Yeah.
So that was the reality around the little bubble with the left-hand front wheel.
Heimgartner's in from second place, leaving Matt Payne in the lead.
So this is the replay. Aggressive, and he just got it there. He was battling to stop. Now what he does right there is he just leaves it there.
Here's the view, listening, first gear. And for Waters, remember, it's been a recovery story so far this year because he was the guy that walked under the ladder, kicked the Black Cat in the early phase. In fact, it sort of went on from the back end of the Enduros last year as well. He had a bit of a ropey time. Now, he got as far as 4th in the championship at the time he got to the Northern Territory. That drifted slightly after our last event back to 6th. But we're seeing all the brilliance and the flashes of the old speed that we've previously seen from Tickford and from Cam beginning to emerge once again. We had the broken spindle at Bathurst, had the contact with Payne at the Grand Prix. We had the New Zealand start line shunt.
Yeah.
You don't want any of those in your log in the 2024 championship season. So parked all that behind him and still clinging in that league group of cars in the top 6 in the points. Larko?
Crompo, while Chaz Mostert was out there in front, I wanted to come and grab our friend Bruce Stewart, team principal down here at Walkinshaw Andretti United Racing. Mate, we had a chat on Friday. You were very passionate about the tune-up of the team post-Darwin. We're seeing great results now. It's not that simple as a tune-up, obviously, Bruce. What was said, what has changed? Because this is stellar what's happening right now.
Well, you know, the race hasn't ended, so you can easily fall in a hole still. So let's look at that first. But secondly, this is just a little bit about the 1%ers, the execution. And, you know, so easy to be off the pace in this sport. So easy to just be slightly off, and then you find yourself drifting back in the pack. For us, it's like when we get the opportunity, grab it by the throat and make it happen. So I'm wrapped. All the team are fully invested. They're in. But you know what? A long way to go. So I'm not going to jinx us. Let's see what we can do.
Bruce, you've always been passionate, but I've never seen you this hungry and passionate about getting to the front.
I might have got a big kick up the bum. But anyway, no, but you know what? It's just because we've come so far, a long way, this group. I believe we've got such a great group of guys and girls, and I just want us all to share success. You don't go in racing to earn big money. You don't never try and work out your hourly rate. You do it because you want to be part of something. And that's for us, our fans, our families. And so all I want is a little bit of the taste, Larko, the taste.
Beautifully said. Thanks, Brucey.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
He's got 100 kilometres of motor racing before he could potentially put some icing on that cake. And as Bruce points out, it's far from done at the moment. That margin is down to 0.8 of a second, so Waters is seeing the benefit of the younger tyre as every lap passes at the moment, keeping that pressure up. But it's a welcome return to form is the point that's being made down there by Mark and Bruce. Now, the incident between cars at 20 and 26, that's Reynolds and Stanaway, is being noted by race control here as well. It's just popped up on our timing screen, so we'll keep an eye on that one for you. Here's the viewpoint from position number 2 in the field. One compulsory stop done and ticked against every competitor in the field. As I said before, a little under now 100 kilometres to run in this 250k contest today. Second compulsory stop to come. 0.79 of a second is that gap that we're looking at right here. Now the lap speed's drifted now into the low 16s on that lap for both Mostert and Waters. In fact, they've all but done the same lap time. And Will Davison, sitting in 3rd position there at the moment, actually 0.2 of a second quicker and faster in the mid-sector, personal best for him on that last lap. So Wilbur was 0.2 faster at a flat 16, which is very good pace.
Exactly.
And he put on 26 litres of fuel and stopped on lap 28. So he got a good tyre life out of that car as well. And he is 7.8 seconds off the lead.
And for Will Brown fans, he was the second fastest car on the track on the last lap also. So he's showing better pace.
0.4 of a second is the gap between Mostert and Waters. Will Davison circulating very quick out there, 7 seconds off the lead. This continues to brew. Meantime, Brock Feeney and Jack LeBrock and Will Brown just in a nice position here as well. Will's being able to claw back 6 positions, having qualified 13th. So that's good profit for him and protecting his championship lead. And then beyond him, we've got Golding and then Payne, Courtney, Heimgartner just outside the top 10. This is an awesome battle, though. These guys are eyeballing each other for every millimetre of this racetrack. Let's stay with Cam here and enjoy some premium supercar action from the driver's eye view. a really good contest.
It's good, isn't
between these two boys at the moment. That's 0.6 of a second, first to second. Seeing variations in line taking. There's a little bit of behavioural difference in the cars. They're managing wheel spin very carefully. There's not much in it. There's a tiny difference in fuel load. There's a handful of laps difference in the age of the tyres. So that gap just right now, Mark, as I looked at the timing, flipped from 1.3 to 1.7 seconds Mostert to Waters. So there's a fluctuating margin there, big time. I think the other thing that's important to note at this racetrack, it's anything but easy. So it's very, very easy to make a mistake that just costs you and disturbs your lap time and therefore those margins. Just catch a curb in the wrong way, lock a little on the run into a corner, light up the rear tyre just a little bit too much somewhere can have a profound effect.
Yep.
It's just dropped off a little bit more again, 1.8 seconds now, Mostert over Waters.
And maybe part of the thing with Mostert too is he's on the cusp, because a big gap is 0.4 of a second, and Will Davison, again, was very fast. Matt Payne was actually the fastest car on the previous lap. Will Davison was really quick.
So just to interject,
yeah,
Will the fastest man on the last lap, Cam Waters 16th fastest, Chaz Mostert 8th fastest car on the last lap. Jack Brock was actually the second fastest car. So quite a lot going on out there lap by lap in terms of pace.
Did you see the amount of marbles on the way out of turn 10?
Yeah.
So just we'll have a look here now. When you come around here, so Cam Waters has made a lot of ground. And have a look to your left. Have a look at that there. The marbles on the outside of that corner. If you got caught there, you would go in the fence.
The significance of that is that if you're not in those tracks, you're in strife. So if you happen to make a mistake, thing cranks sideways, or you think that you're going to poke the nose, you're not going to do it there anyway at turn 10, but poke the nose into a non-standard position somewhere, you're going to find the grip disappears really fast. So this is starting to liven up once again. We've talked about strengths, weaknesses, backing off, clear air, temperature effect. Chaz is at the back end of the life of these tyres. This is where the younger tyres for Waters is valuable. He thought about it. He was fully brake and grip limited by the time he got down to turn 2. That was pretty close to awkward contact, but they both managed to get away with it. 37 laps remaining. This is the battle for the lead. Race 13 of the championship. Nothing in it between Mostert and Waters. And there's a pit lane incident under investigation for Cam Hill at the moment, the stewards have just noted as well. Eyes up on this one though. Mostert, no space on the outside. Cam had to think about it, whether or not he was going to overtake. Chaz runs slightly wide here. That could be costly. This could open the opportunity for the run down the inside. Here we go, turn 9 and 10. Waters incentivised. Maybe a kilometre an hour, 2, just slightly better, and he uses it to his advantage. Bang, down the inside for the lead. Crisscross on the other side. Outshoots Mostert. Great motor racing between these two guys as Chazzy fires one back and gets to the lead. Cam up on the outside at the final corner. Quality supercar racing between Waters and Mostert as Mozzie comes out the other side with the lead, perhaps only for just a moment, because there's nothing much left in those tyres on his car.
That is as good as it gets. That exchange is absolutely outstanding driving from both parties.
Oh, lock up the Waters at the critical moment, and he opens the door again, but can he hang on? He's got a tiny grip advantage. He tries to close the door. There's a tiny overlap, and Cam recognises it. Another great exchange through turn 3. These guys are super pros. What a terrific battle between Mostert and Waters. And have a go at the next car in the queue, because Will Davison is now 3/4 of a second behind, and he is right in the middle of this.
This is the best racing we've seen this year. They have absolutely turned it on, Mostert and Waters. And whilst they've been playing those games, Will Davison has made an immense amount of ground. Another late move! And he only just gets it stopped there by Cam Waters.
Now, Davison could be the ultimate beneficiary if this gets too ugly and gets too willing. Davison up on the outside, tries to round him up into a next to impossible position. This is the battle for the lead. First, second, third, Mostert, Waters, Davison. Chazzy getting to the end of the tyre life. The car tucked in behind Waters has got slightly younger tyres. Can he use them now to advantage under brakes, and does Davison go with him? Waters through. Will Davison trying to squeeze through? What an exchange.
Fantastic motor racing. 3 different Ford teams, 3 of the very best operators battling as hard as you can possibly battle. And Waters now with that little reprieve, 0.7 of a second up the road.
This is having the effect of bringing everybody back together. The split all the way back down to our championship leader, Will Brown, is just 8 seconds. This is far from over with 35 laps remaining. What a battle we've got on our hands in Townsville this afternoon, and a bit of sunshine beginning to peep through, so maybe now no threat of rain. We talked about it early. Here's the view from Chaz Mostert. Was leading, is now third.
And I reckon he's got to actually make a call on the stop, because he's got a couple of seconds over the others with fuel. You need to be able to use it to give yourself the track position.
Of this lead group of 3 cars,
Yeah.
Will Davison's is the youngest tyre set by 1 lap over Cam Waters. 0.6 of a second between Mostert and Randall. Nothing in it. How hard does Thomas push? Will Davison continues to show terrific consistent pace sitting there in third. So last lap speed check, 16.3 Chaz, 16.2 Randall, 16.4 for Will Davison, and a new fastest lap again on the last lap for Matt Payne. He's brought that number down to a 15.34 and he's sitting in 8th.
Will Brown with a 15.9. So of the top 8 cars, Matt Payne significantly faster than anybody else. The next fastest was Will Brown. Ryan Walkinshaw looking on. And one of the things that we don't know, and part of the puzzle here is, as we look at the different bunkers, Chris Stuckey is the engineer there for Thomas Randall. What we don't know is Mostert controlling the pace? So is Mostert driving the car conservatively enough to give himself room for a battle later in this stint? We don't know whether that is a little bit of cat and mouse that he's playing.
You heard it in the background. 19 laps to go from Sam to Chaz Mostert. Mostert be well and truly aware of the value of the lead position, track position key in this battle this afternoon. But he's got an eager young guy behind him who's after his very first supercar victory in Thomas Randall. They've got a reasonable little margin over Will Davison. About 2.4 seconds at last check. Meantime, Will Brown's just moved up 1 position on his teammate, Brock Feeney. That brings the championship leader up to 6th. That's important. How's this margin here, first to second? More and more dirt being thrown up as people pushing harder and harder and using everything at the limit.
So Waters in the background of shot has made it to the back of Will Davison now. You can just see that as they went under the BP Ultimate Bridge at turn 10.
And that is going to be the ultimate in caution and control, to not use up too much of that tyre advantage too soon, as he now plunges down the inside at 13. Will gives him a pile of space, attempts the crisscross, but he doesn't have the exact track position to do it. And that brings Cam up 1 spot now into third position. And he's 3.3 seconds off the lead. 3.3 seconds, 16 laps. He needs a few millimetres every lap to buy into the battle with his teammate Thomas Randall and Chaz Mostert. They're in the 16s, and Will Davison on that last lap, because he had to step out of the way, dropped into the 17s. 14 to go. Andrew Edwards on the radio to Will. Steady at 0.6 of a second between Mostert and Randall. Thomas has got a hard task there, chewing all that hot air.
But this is about the point of the stints where Chaz has started to struggle. So this will be quite telling in the next 4 or 5 laps as to whether Thomas can put that to good effect, or conversely, whether Chaz has actually been looking after the tyre more than we know or more than we think.
And everybody's got a task here to push these tyres up to a point, up to a limit, but not too far, with a big wide stint at the back end. Race leaders through. Oh, big lock up at the wrong moment here for Thomas Randall. And is that... catch what that was, but was it a lock-up or was it something else for Thomas Randall into turn 11? No, there's something else going on here.
He said it was coming from Chaz's car. So he said there was smoke coming from Chaz's car, but it looked like it was from Randall's car.
We're looking at a fine battle here between Will Brown, Will Davison, Jack LeBrock and Brock Feeney. Those guys battling 4, 5, 6, 7. But up front, just a moment ago, telltale smoke for some obscure reason for what looked initially like a lock-up for Thomas Randall in turn 11. We'll watch and monitor. We might get the pit lane team to just have a look at that as well and see if there's anything that we can learn from it. But we've got 0.4 of a second between Mostert and Randall. There is only 6 seconds covering the top 5 or 6 drivers in this race. We've got 13 laps remaining, and this is brewing into an all-time battle today. Watch the Castrol car. Now, Thomas is saying the smoke's coming from Chaz's car. Certainly not. But what's the source? I thought to begin with a lock-up, but I'm not 100% convinced about that.
That's right. There could be rubber build-up, but I also thought that it had a level of smoke at the exit of 11 that it might have been a power steer issue off the back of that smoke. How's the dark clouds in the background there? So when you look at the numbers, whilst we're also away then for a second, Will Brown's been able to get by Will Davison in the background too, so he's up to 4th.
Somewhere over that rainbow lies a supercar victory. Who's it going to be? Jack LeBrock on the really dirty side of the road, gets down the inside, scrambling out the other side. What a battle with Will Davison here. These guys having an all-time battle for 5th. Brock Feeney profits from that one as well.
But don't discount Matt Payne, who's been doing 15s when everyone else is doing 16s.
He's blazing.
He's the fastest car on the track by a mile.
And continues to hold the fastest lap, but the impressive part is he's been putting more of them together. You're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you next, folks. It is raining.
Oh, check those clouds.
It is raining out there. And that dark cloud that we saw a moment ago is actually dumping some moisture on this racetrack. Now, if you want some supercar action, just add water, because this has already been a nail-biter and a ripper this afternoon, and it's about to get a whole lot weirder, Jack.
I just quickly spoke to Tom Randall's engineer and asked if there was anything possibly wrong with the car. They seem to think it was just a lock-up. And I can confirm it's definitely raining here, guys. I've got water on my glasses.
Thanks, mate. We'll get some tissues down there for you. Now, the race director declares the track wet, which just means that officially you can come in and put a wet tyre on. We spoke about it in the Hino Hub earlier. The crossover number we think's about 1 minute and 23 seconds. It's not just wet, it's hammering down there at turn 6 at the moment, and they will be creeping along on a Dunlop slick tyre. They've got residual temperature in the tyre at the moment, but that will not last long. This is going to be a battle to keep the cars on the racetrack. What a story this afternoon in Townsville.
What do you do?
What do you do? Do you hang in there? Can you keep the thing on the island, or do you need to bring it in for a Dunlop wet? And certainly nobody wants to blink at this stage.
But it's sunny there. So do you take a punt and stay on the slick tyre? They are going to take a punt and stay on the slick tyre. And we're watching some of the absolute best in the world in these conditions, because Mostert, we know, is like that. Waters is extraordinary in these conditions.
And with warmth in the tyre and the drivers fully connected to and understanding their cars and the road condition, they'll hang on to the bitter end. They'll need to see a huge drop in lap speed before they make the change. Last lap through, 19.9 for Mozzie, 19.8 for Randall, 18.8 for Waters, to your point, and a 19 flat for Will Brown. 4th position, and Will playing into the game here. The margins are condensing. The rain is falling. We've got 10 laps to go in Townsville. It's lucky race number 13 in the Repco Supercars Championship, and these blokes are holding on to these things and wrestling a ton and a half around this racetrack.
And you've got to stop the paint. You can see the line, the difference there that Mostert and Randall and Waters were using on the exit of turn 6. If you make the paint, you make the grass, you make the fence. So they were doing a very conservative exit job to stay off the painted line and stay off that complete painted curve. Randall now putting pressure on.
Now, this also dramatically changes the survivability of the tyres at the back end of their line. They have a little cool out, they might get a breather, they might now survive better. Waters is right on the back of his teammate. Only a heartbeat to go. Randall was vying for the lead. He might now be under threat for second. 9 laps remain in Townsville. Mostert, Randall, Waters, Brown, LeBrock, Payne, Feeney, Davison down the 8th now. Heimgartner and Courtney. And here comes Cam down the inside, P2.
That was bold. He was a long way back. He just fired straight down there. He obviously knew it was his teammate, but at that point there, he was committed to it. If Thomas turned in, he was going to fire him off the road.
Back to the beginning in the battle between Mostert and Waters. It reignites exactly as it did off the line at the start of this motor race much earlier this afternoon. Have a look at those numbers in the graphic at the bottom of the screen. Have a look up in the top left-hand corner and see how many laps we've got to go. Have a look in the background at the black sky. That weather did come in from the southeast despite the sunshine that we saw. And things have changed pretty dramatically for a bunch of people. Notably, Will Davison's car has not adapted to those conditions at all, having gone down now into position number 8. Here's our race lead. Mostert, 9/10 of a second from Waters. Randall on screen for Castro. Just lurking in the background in the shadows at the moment is Will Brown. There he is. Our championship leader has done a mighty job for position number 13 on the grid today. He's a factor. He may well get onto the podium. You would not have thought that possible earlier in the day. There they are, right in front of us with 8 to go. Anything can happen in terms of this podium.
And if you like a bet, it's Winks odds for Waters to have a crack at Mostert, because Cam Waters all day, they battled since lap 1. And at the point of the race right now, Waters has got nothing to lose. He will have a serious crack at Chaz Mostert, there's no doubt.
Tension in the garages at the extreme level. Sam Potter, engineer for Cam Waters.
Still wet.
Ryan Walkinshaw, the owner of Walkinshaw Andretti United, a co-owner together with Zach Brown and Michael Andretti. And it still looks pretty ordinary out there towards the southeast. The wipers on Cam's car. Parts of the racetrack are dry, other parts are partially wet, others are quite wet. How do you play that game? It's all about the feel in the seat of your pants, tips of your fingers, tippy toe off your toes to be able to understand how to get the most out of your Dunlop tyre that's well worn on a greasy track with a ton and a half wanting to get away from you and throw you into a concrete wall.
And these are the 2 best proponents, or 2 of the best we've ever seen. These guys are the best. When it's like this, when the inclement conditions and the grip level is weird, they always optimise it. Here we go. Down there, he had to move it. Mostert, he knew he was going to be drilled.
Change for the lead. But does Mozzie come back down the inside? He argues the case on the run to turn 3. Cam Waters has taken the lead at race number 13 in greasy conditions down the inside at turn 2. That's an eye full of Mostert's car back into position number 2 now. Is Waters going to be able to keep this pace up and open the margin?
And what it does is it makes Cam Waters the pioneer for the conditions. Previously, Mostert was down the inside, he looks. Can he get down there? It almost forces Waters slightly wide at 7, then 8. This is the wild spot because this corner's fast.
Brown on Randall for 3rd. Keep an eye in the background because this could change in a heartbeat. Here he comes, under brakes down here at turn 11. Will Brown's now on the podium. What a drive this afternoon. Thomas Randall argues the case back out the other side. He's almost cleared him by the time he's put power to the road. Battle up the front, Waters v Mostert. Battle for position number 3 involves Brown v Randall. This is an epic race in Townsville this afternoon with now 6 laps remaining.
So now Waters is going to read the conditions. When you're the lead person, when it's like this, you don't know how much grip you've got at the next corner. As Randall has a plunge down the inside, across the painted lines, and now Will Brown tries to turn back and they make contact. That was close to going in the fence.
No. Unbelievable exchange between Thomas and Will between 2 and 3. And that could have ended in tears with a tiny bit more throttle percentage there. Luckily, cooler heads prevailed. They came out the other side. But it's exactly the same up the front between Chaz and Cam. There's nothing in that battle at the moment. Where do you place your bets? Who's going to get this job done? We've got a little under 6 remaining. They've been racing for an hour and 47 minutes, and I've got no idea who's going to win this, who's going to be second or who's going to be third. In fact, the battles continue each and every way. And now again down the inside by Will. Nice work.
Great
Turn
driving.
11. That was
driving.
a cool pass.
Yeah, great driving.
Good race this afternoon. This is fun.
And how's Matt Payne? So that's Matt Payne just behind. He's just been the fastest car in this last segment by a country mile. Waters, Mostert, Brown, Randall, Payne, LeBrock, Feeney. Guess who was the fastest car in the last lap? Andre Heimgartner. Andre Heimgartner's 9th, and he was the fastest car in those conditions.
We've got a little less than 14 kilometres of racing to go. It is the 13th race of the championship season. We're cresting the halfway mark of the 24 Repco Supercars Championship. And we've mixed it up this afternoon across the brands, across the team, across the drivers, across their levels of experience, and with the weather. Introduced some fuel and tyre strategy today, and it's lit things up on a challenging track at the best of times. There's 0.5 of a second between Cam Waters and Chaz Mostert. Will Brown and Thomas Randall have been in an incredible battle at the moment that's favouring Will, only just and certainly far from resolved. And there's others in this battle as well. In the background, Payne, who's been ultra fast and still got the fastest lap of the race. From LeBrock, Feeney, Davison, Heimgartner, Courtney, the 10.
Now, I gave you Winks odds on Waters having a dive at Mostert. I'm probably going to apply the same regime to Mostert having a last-minute crack, do you think?
There's a bit to play for.
Yeah.
4 to go. Wiper still alive on Cam's car. Challenging conditions. On that last lap, they're back in the 16s, so they're well away from anything resembling having to cross over, and it will not be wet enough out there. So this is going to be how it stays to the end. Everybody out there on these tyres, the track is dry enough, there's enough residual heat, and they are going to continue to battle it out. But just think about that shot that we took, what, 5 minutes ago, where over the back here, it was hammering down.
Yep.
And nobody made a mistake.
No, that's the extraordinary part. And they're back out on the painted curb at turn 6. So that's an indicator straight away that has dried up, and they've got the grip back out there in that part of the racetrack, which they had to completely change their racing line through that part of the racetrack.
So has Cam now got enough of a margin, which is a whopping, gigantic 0.8 of a second, to take a tiny bit of the pressure off? There's next to nothing in it. Matt Payne putting jumbo pressure now on the back of Thomas Randall, who's put up a big fight today. But Matty's been super fast. He's still got the fastest lap of the race at a 15.3. No bonus points in an enduro race today for him, but he could be odds on here to get a move done.
And a couple of great drives through the field today. I reported a few times where Cam Hill was the fastest car. He's come up 9 positions. Will Brown up 10 positions. So there's been some great drives. Mark Winterbottom up 7. Courtney up 6.
Well, for Will Brown, when you're the championship leader, to qualify 13th and to get yourself on the podium is just continuing this extraordinary run. I think he's only missed 1 podium in all the races so far this year. Oh, contact at 3. Awkward. And so that's how you stitch together a championship, isn't it?
Yep.
Bit of damage, actually, on the back of Thomas's car as a result of that. It's actually dislodged that right rear guard. Less than 3 laps remain. Waters has now got 1.1 seconds over Chaz.
But cast your mind back to the opening chaos at lap 1 with turn 3 and all the drama that was unfolding. Oh, I don't want to be on the outside there across the marbles. He got away with it. Oh, my God, that's close.
And Thomas had to fan the throttle then because he was in the weeds. He was in the marbles. And you get pick up on the tyre, so there's a residual effect from getting all those marbles picked up on the tyres. LeBrock's right there on the back of Randall now as well. Oh, take a breather. Stop and think about it. 2 laps to go. Waters has got 0.9 of a second over Chaz. It's a 4.7 second spread from the leader to position number 3, Will Brown. Payne is charging like we've been describing in the recent past, followed then by Randall, LeBrock, Feeney, Davison, Heimgartner, and Hill is now up into 10th position in car 4.
So remember, on the opening lap, Will Brown was right behind all the chaos that played here. He could have been out of this race. So when they're all running into each other between turn 2 and turn 3 and then into the fence on the left-hand side coming out of turn 3, Will Brown was right in the mix, right in the middle of it. So he's been able to get away with it. Very professional opening stanza, and has been able now to get onto the podium. So a great response from Will and the team.
We're riding with Jack LeBrock on the right-hand side of screen, but we're keeping an eye on what's going on in the race lead down there at turn 11. So LeBrock might get another move done here, and Thomas is trying to keep that margin to the smallest possible gap and goes for the cross out the other side, and I think he's actually made that stick in terms of traction, and he has. Meantime, flick the eyes back to the left, folks, and you're about to see 1 lap to go. What an afternoon of motorsport. And bar a mistake, it's done. So last lap 17.2 for Cam Waters, 17.4 for Chaz Mostert, 17 flat for Will Brown. Margin across the top, 4.5 seconds, and have a go at this. Still an epic battle all the way to the end for Randall, LeBrock and Feeney. A lot to play for here, valuable points, and Brock's well aware of that. He's second in the championship. Back to our leader, who's actually now well opened that gap. All the pressure is off. Half a lap remaining. He's flicking the lights to Nick Percat, who copped damage in the opening lap. This has been a magical drive today from Cam Waters, and a consolidation of the brilliance that we saw in practice from Tickford and Waters in the monster car in Friday practice 1 and 2, earlier today in quali, and then in the top 10 shootout, and then in a gigantic battle all the way to this checkered flag. 1 corner now remains. Out of the final corner, 88 laps in the bank, and this has been a magical drive by Cam Waters today to take a stunning victory in Townsville and to move his career tally on to win number 13.